Ladies and gentlemen, it is my delight and pleasure to welcome you to this exciting interview with the one and only Pete Gaffney. Pete is a personal friend and a wonderful, inspiring human being, and I'm so grateful to you for agreeing to this interview. This interview is part of the launch of the new Matmid Programme, a really exciting deep learning program for the United Synagogue, where we'll be doing some text-based learning across communities. And for the first time, we're going to be exploring the topic of Geirut, conversion in Jewish law. Pete has gone through the process, and it's been a pleasure seeing him through the journey, having known Pete for over a decade, seen him grow, and now he has the most beautiful, wonderful Jewish family living in North London, living the dream. Pete, tell me, how did it all start? What made you decide you wanted to become Jewish?
Loaded question. Well, welcome, Rabbi Golker. Thank you for having me, and I'm honored to be on tonight, and just to educate a few people about the Geirut process and also my journey. But I was actually taking some notes down before the interview tonight, and I checked back, and actually the first time I ever went to shul was Rosh Hashanah 2009. So my journey started about 12 years ago, and believe it or not, the whole catalyst to my journey beginning was, at the time, I was very close to a rabbi who I was helping with some fitness, and he lost his mother. So I quickly Googled Shiva and what it was all about. And I remember taking away from Google that, don't engage in conversation, wait for them to speak to you. And I went to this Shiva with the purpose of maybe just popping in for 5 minutes. And I stayed there for 2.5 hours because I was so inspired about the whole community and the coming together. And this person had people that he'd gone to yeshiva with, people that he hadn't seen for 20 years, people that he'd got, all walks of life there. And I guess culturally and in other religions, you don't have that. So that really started my journey into Judaism. And funny enough, the next day I was flying home to Australia. So I bought a book on Judaism and started reading that. And that's really what started it. And that must have been in the summer of, say, 2009.
Wow. Did you grow up as a religious person at all?
Yes, I did. Actually, my parents are devout Catholics. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. I grew up in Brisbane in Queensland, Australia, and I moved over to England in 2002. Queen's Jubilee weekend 2002, still remember it well. But yeah, I grew up going to a Catholic school, moved over to England at the age of 20. I'm now 38. And so religion was always a part of my life, but around the age of 26, that's when I made that shift towards Yiddishkeit.
Wow. And when you actually launched into the process of conversion, apart from obviously the ins and outs of a Jewish shiva, how much did you know about the conversion process? Did you know what you were getting yourself into?
I had no idea what I was getting myself into, the commitment, the whole lifestyle change. I had spoken to someone else that had gone through the process. We had met for a coffee in Novellino about sort of 4 weeks before I finally decided that this is what I wanted to do. And he gave me a little bit of the ins and outs. But as you know, Rabbi Golker, there's many ways people can take Yiddishkeit and Judaism from, modern Orthodox to more Haredi. So he went down more of a different path to what I've gone down. But yeah, I had no idea that this would be so all-consuming with my life in a good way. But yeah.
You're an incredible example of somebody who demonstrates resilience. You're a personal fitness trainer in your professional life, and you're somebody who, you commit to something, you do it. You committed to learn Daf Yomi, you finished Shas. You're on your second cycle through the Talmud, which is really inspiring, and it puts a lot of us to shame. That's an amazing step to have got through, having only decided at the age of 26 you were actually going to become Jewish. Now, what obstacles did you face along the road? I'm sure there must have been lots of obstacles. Could you share with us some of those challenges through those years of conversion?
Well, the base did give you firstly a syllabus to complete, which you really can go as quick or as slow as you want. But me being a proactive, driven, focused sort of guy, I wanted to get through that syllabus as quick as possible. And it's really the Dayanim that put the brakes on you and try and slow you down by, getting you to go through the process and really immersing yourself in Jewish life. And I had the advantage of actually already owning a flat in Hendon, which was in an Orthodox area, which was great. So I was already familiar with the Orthodox community, and I knew where shawls were, and as opposed to being in Middle England or in a different area.
And the double parking on Golders Green Road didn't put you off?
Well, yeah, that was one of the things that I thought that if I meet enough Jews over the process, I can have a word to them about that, because that did used to infuriate me. But yeah, no, I guess the obstacles were I had to learn how to be patient, and that it's a process, and that at the end result, obviously everyone wants the end result, but you have to appreciate the process, appreciate Yom Tov and Shabbos and the different Yom Tovim and the different major life events, and even going to a simcha and going to a shiva, and so there were tough times. There were definitely tough times on the journey, and I think when you're single, and because Orthodox and the Jewish life is so family orientated, it could be quite difficult along that process with Yom Tov and Shabbos when you were sort of by yourself. But I just kept that laser focused and kept pushing forward, and I knew what my end goal was. And yeah.
Did the Beth Din or any friends and family try to put you off?
They did. And my family, I'm glad you touched on my family, because my family, are very special people, and I'm very blessed to have the parents that I have. And I would say that the journey for me was made a little bit easier because I moved away from Australia at the age of 20, and I started this process at the age of 26. So it wasn't like all of a sudden I had stopped going over to my parents' house for a barbecue on Friday night, and now I'm going to the Goldbergs or the Golkers for a Friday night meal. So I had already sort of, started my new life in the UK. I guess my parents were just inquisitive and wanted to know more about Judaism, coming from, a devout Catholic family, but they came over and they met certain Rabbonim along the process. And yeah, all in all, now, my mum knows more about the Seder each week than probably what I should know.
It's incredible. And did you find the Jewish community generally welcoming, and people opened up their home to you? And what was that like?
Yeah. For me personally, yeah, very welcoming. I always had a Shabbos meal to go to. I always had someone to learn with. Your brother actually was one of the first meals that I went to for Yom Tov. And all in all, yes.
Not to make anyone want to be Jewish.
No comment. No, but overall the community was very welcoming, and I had some support, and I knew people in the community as well. So I wasn't scared to ask questions or to really push to understand the reason for doing things. So for me, the journey on that aspect was okay, was fine.
Sure. Now, obviously, as part of the conversion process for a male, they have to go through a Brit Milah, through a circumcision. I wouldn't mind just understanding a little bit, how did that go? And it sounds very painful as a thing to be doing as an adult man. Can you tell us a little bit of a snippet of that area of the process?
I had that at the ripe old age of 28 as opposed to 8 days, but Dr. Spitzer was my mole, and I went to Stanford Hill. I still remember I took my next door neighbor for some moral support and also to drive me home, because I didn't feel like I'd probably be in a state to drive after that. Yeah, I guess that was just a bit of a surreal, moment, but has to be done because all of B'nai Israel, or all the males have had bris milah. So yeah, not really sure.
And the recovery was okay.
What more to add on that? The recovery was fine.
Wow, that's incredible. Now tell us, what's your relationship like now with your Australian family back home?
Yeah, very good, very good. So I'm now married. I've got 3 beautiful children. I've been with my wife Shelley for almost 7 years now, and Shelley's great. You know, she and the whole family, we call up my parents back in Australia every Sunday. We speak to them during the week, but my relationship hasn't changed with them at all. I guess the thing is, when we're together, it's to know what you can still do to be inclusive with your family. So, you know, there's no problem saying to my mum, you know, let's go out for a coffee and let's, you know, and do this, or for my dad, you know, let's go down and have a cold drink here. It's about being inclusive, and rather than saying I can't do that anymore, I can't do that, or can't do this. So if you're smart about it, and if you take into considerations, you know, emotions and feelings and how other people are feeling, then, you know, I think you can still keep a very close relationship with your family. Sure. Granted, they're, you know, 15,000 miles away.
What would you say surprised you the most about Judaism when you were learning about what it means to be a Jew?
I didn't realize that if you're leading an Orthodox lifestyle, that it is like a blueprint for your life. You know, in terms of, if you want structure and you want discipline and you want a way to stick to Torah values, that there is this blueprint from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. And I guess I never knew, coming from a different religion, Catholicism and Christianity, that you know, it's more about just having a faith, a blind faith, so to speak, and no real actions that are associated with it. And I guess that's what surprised me about Judaism, and the fact that with the learning that you never stop learning, that you're always picking up new things about the religion.
I'm sure your process sounds like, as processes goes, it was pretty smooth sailing. It wasn't so long. You lived in the right area where you had a big support network, and thank God you managed to date and marry someone fantastic. I'd be interested to hear, have you ever at any point thought to yourself, why did I do this? Have you ever had post-conversion struggles where you've perhaps either regretted the decision or had second thoughts? And how do you handle that if that does happen?
Are you referring to on Tisha B'Av when it's 32 degrees and I can't take a glass of water, that I'm thinking, why have I done this? But no, in all seriousness, I never regretted my decision. I never backtracked from my decision. You know, I just kept moving forward. So for me, my dating process from when I finished going through Geirut and becoming a fully fledged Jew and part of B'nai Israel to getting married was about 3 years. So I guess those 3 years were quite difficult. I maybe thought that I would meet that girl straight away and get married straight away, but my Bashet was just waiting to appear, because when it works and when it, you know, it happens right, it's very quick. You know, I dated Shelley for 7 weeks, we were engaged for 3 months, and 7 years later we've got 3 kids.
Amazing. Wow. So Pete, can I ask you one final question? A lot of people go through the conversion, they choose to change their name. Can I ask, did you ever, what's your Hebrew name, and did you ever think of changing your name?
My Hebrew name is Ariel, and I would say that probably 20% of people actually do call me Ariel. 80% call me Pete. For me, you know, I answer to both, but I didn't want to change my identity of who I am completely. But yeah, no, I mix between the two. And the running joke often is that they say, for Pete's sake, his name's Ariel. So.
Well, I must say, it's been a real privilege and pleasure. I wish you and Shelley continued Hatzlacha. Thank you for being so candid and sharing the details of your inspirational journey. Thanks so much, Pete.
Pleasure. Thank you.